How did one engineer's stupid idea defy all expectations and become the key to the Allied victory in the skies? A wing shape, dismissed by many as impractical, would soon prove to be the game-changer. The P-51 Mustang, designed with that very wing, would outmaneuver every German fighter it encountered, turning the tide of the air war in favor of the Allies. This is the untold story of how one bold, unconventional design made all the difference in the deadliest conflict the world had ever seen. The Second World War was a brutal, unforgiving conflict that demanded innovation at every turn. As Allied forces scrambled to gain an edge in the skies, the Luftwaffe seemed almost unstoppable. The Germans had the advantage with their formidable Messerschmitt and Focke-Wulf fighters, which could outmaneuver many of the planes used by the Allies. However, on the ground, a quiet revolution was unfolding, one that would change the entire course of aerial combat. At the heart of this transformation was an unassuming engineer from Lockheed, Clarence Kelly Johnson. His task was daunting: to design a plane that could not only keep up with the German fighters, but defeat them in their own game of agility and speed. The result would be the P-51 Mustang, an aircraft that would go on to dominate the skies. But what many didn't know was that the secret to its success lay not in its engine or its firepower, but in one simple and seemingly stupid idea, a wing shape that flew in the face of conventional wisdom. Johnson had decided to use a long, elliptical wing, a design that many engineers and pilots thought would be too inefficient and impractical. Critics scoffed, questioning the wisdom of such a radical departure from the norm. It didn't follow the traditional designs that had dominated military aviation up to that point. The decision was a bold risk, one that might have derailed the project entirely had it not been for the unwavering belief of Johnson and his team. Despite the ridicule, the design went ahead. Little did anyone know, this seemingly ridiculous wing shape would become the key to the Mustang's success. What Johnson had understood, and what the naysayers could not see, was that aerodynamics wasn't just about speed in a straight line. It was about control, stability, and most of all, agility. The P-51 Mustang's elliptical wings allowed it to cut through the air with an almost unnatural grace, giving it the ability to outmaneuver even the best German fighters. In the air, the Mustang's performance was a testament to the power of innovation. It became clear to anyone who took the plane into battle, this was no ordinary fighter. It was a machine built to break the rules, a weapon that could turn the tide of the war. As the Mustang soared above the war-torn skies of Europe, the air was filled with the sounds of its engines and the deadly silence of the planes it left in its wake. The daring, stupid design of the Mustang's wing had done the impossible. It had given the Allies the upper hand in the most crucial aspect of the war. But the true significance of Johnson's bold choice wasn't just about outmaneuvering the enemy. It was about proving that sometimes the most unconventional ideas are the ones that win wars. As the Allies prepared for the crucial air battles over Europe, the P-51 Mustang was becoming more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of hope. The skies above the battlefield had already witnessed countless dogfights, but they had also seen the struggles of Allied pilots flying aircraft that were outmatched in speed and agility. The Mustang, however, was different. It was faster, more agile, and most importantly, it had the ability to sustain long-range missions. This would prove vital in the campaign against Nazi Germany, as the Allies needed a fighter that could escort bombers deep into enemy territory and return safely. But this wasn't the only innovation the Mustang represented. What truly set it apart from the other fighters in the Allied arsenal was its unique wing design. The elliptical wing, initially mocked by many, created a balance between speed, maneuverability, and stability. It was a design that defied convention and exceeded the expectations of even its creators. As the P-51 Mustang took to the skies for the first time, its performance was nothing short of revolutionary. Lieutenant John Smith, a young pilot who had trained for months, climbed into the cockpit of the Mustang, fully aware that this was not just any plane, it was his ticket to a new kind of warfare. As he soared through the skies during his first mission, he could feel the difference immediately. The Mustang was nimble, almost like an extension of his own body. It responded to every subtle movement of the controls, whether it was a sharp turn to evade an enemy or a high-speed dive to catch up with a fleeing adversary. For John, the plane felt alive, like it could anticipate his next move. The way it moved through the air was unlike anything he had ever experienced. The air was thick with tension as he encountered enemy fighters, German Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs, that had long been the terror of the skies. But as the battle began, John felt an unfamiliar sense of confidence. The Mustang's agility allowed him to outmaneuver his opponents with ease. It was as if the plane was reading his mind, responding instantly to his commands. Within moments, he was on the tail of a German fighter, locking in the perfect shot. With a single burst of fire, the enemy plane exploded in a fiery ball. The Mustang had proven itself. It wasn't just a fighter, it was a predator. Word quickly spread among the pilots about the Mustang's unparalleled abilities. It wasn't long before the aircraft became a critical part of the Allied Air Force, securing air superiority over the skies of Europe. Its unique wing design allowed it to outclass the competition, turning the tide of countless battles. With the P-51 Mustang now leading the charge, the Allies had gained the upper hand in a way they had never expected. But the true genius of the Mustang's design wasn't just in its ability to destroy. It was in its ability to endure. It could fly long distances without losing its edge, escorting bombers safely to their targets and back, ensuring that the Allies could carry out their devastating raids deep within enemy lines. For the first time, the Allied bombers had the protection they needed. The Mustang had become the eyes of the sky, its wings cutting through the clouds, guarding the hopes of a world at war. The P-51 Mustang's elliptical wing, once dismissed as a stupid idea, had proven itself as the weapon that could change the entire course of the war. The skies had been transformed, and with each mission, the Mustang solidified its legacy as the most effective and fearsome fighter of the Second World War. As the war raged on, the P-51 Mustang's legend grew. With its unique wing design, the aircraft quickly became a vital asset in the struggle for air superiority. Pilots from the Allied forces, many of whom had once faced almost insurmountable odds against the Luftwaffe, were now feeling a shift in power. The P-51 Mustang's ability to outmaneuver German fighters was a game-changer. For years, the Allies had been fighting against an enemy that seemed to control the skies. With advanced aircraft like the Messerschmitt Bf-109 and the Focke-Wulf FW-190 relentlessly hunting down Allied bombers. But now, with the Mustang at their side, things were different. The Allies finally had an aircraft that could take the fight to the enemy and not just defend, but dominate. The Mustang's elliptical wing design, once thought impractical, now revealed its true brilliance. The smooth curve of the wing reduced drag while maintaining high lift, giving the P-51 the agility of a much smaller aircraft, but with the firepower and endurance of a long-range bomber escort. The aerodynamic efficiency of the P-51's design meant it could keep up with bombers over long distances, ensuring that vital raids on German industrial hubs and military installations could proceed with far fewer casualties. The air was thick with tension during these raids. The P-51 pilots, many of them young and eager to prove themselves, faced the full fury of the Luftwaffe. But despite the threat, the Mustang's wing design allowed the pilots to react with precision and speed. The sky, once a deadly battlefield, was now a canvas where these pilots could paint their own story of survival and victory. As one Mustang pilot, Captain Robert Bob Johnson, recalled after a harrowing mission, "We knew we had something special. The plane responded to everything we asked. It was like it anticipated our moves." This was the experience of countless pilots who had flown the Mustang. In combat, the P-51 became more than just a machine. It became an extension of the pilot. Its agility in the air allowed it to outpace the German fighters that had long terrorized the skies. Its ability to climb quickly, dive steeply, and make tight turns was unparalleled. For the first time, the tables had turned. The German pilots, who once ruled the skies, were now on the defensive. And it wasn't just the enemy aircraft that feared the P-51, it was the entire Luftwaffe. The Mustang's unmatched performance forced the Germans to rethink their strategy. They had no answer to a plane that could engage them at their own game. As the war continued, the P-51 Mustang became an indispensable tool for the Allies, helping to secure victory after victory. But its impact wasn't confined to the battlefield alone. The Mustang's success was a testament to the power of innovative thinking. Kelly Johnson's seemingly stupid wing design had become a revolutionary force, changing the entire approach to aerial combat. It wasn't just about building a plane. It was about rethinking what a fighter aircraft could be. The P-51 Mustang had transformed the skies, and in doing so, it had redefined what it meant to fight in the air. This shift in air warfare had profound implications for the war as a whole. With each passing mission, the Allies grew bolder, their confidence soaring as high as the Mustang itself. The skies over Europe, once filled with the noise of destruction, now had a new sound, the roar of the Mustang's engine as it tore through the air, a symbol of the relentless spirit of the Allied forces. The victory of the P-51 Mustang was not just a technical achievement. It was a victory of ingenuity, determination, and the unshakable will to overcome. It was a reminder that sometimes the boldest ideas are the ones that change everything. As the war moved into its final stages, the P-51 Mustang's reputation as a game-changing weapon only intensified. The aircraft had not only revolutionized the way air combat was conducted, but had also become an essential part of the Allies' strategy to break the German war machine. The Mustang's long-range capabilities, combined with its unmatched maneuverability, allowed the Allies to take the fight directly to the heart of Nazi Germany. For years, the Luftwaffe had held control over the skies, making it nearly impossible for the Allies to conduct successful bombing raids without facing severe losses. However, with the Mustang now flying alongside the bombers, those odds had changed. The P-51 provided the protection needed to escort bombers into the most dangerous territories, ensuring they could reach their targets and return home safely. This new dynamic gave the Allies a major strategic advantage, as their bombers were now able to cripple key German industries without being continuously hunted by enemy fighters. With each mission, the Mustang proved its worth, as its pilots intercepted German fighters with speed and precision, neutralizing the threat before it could reach the bombers. But as the Mustang's reputation soared, it wasn't just about victory in the air. It was about the lives that were saved. In a war that was marked by an unrelenting pace of death, the Mustang offered hope. Pilots who once feared the overwhelming power of the Luftwaffe could now fight back. The Mustang was no longer just a fighter, it was a symbol of resilience. The toll on Allied pilots had been immense, with many losing their lives in combat before the Mustang was introduced. The prospect of taking on the enemy in the skies, where survival was often a matter of luck, was terrifying. But the arrival of the Mustang gave many pilots something they had lacked: confidence. The sight of the P-51 Mustang roaring through the sky, with its distinctive elliptical wings cutting through the air, became a beacon of hope. It was no longer a matter of just trying to survive. It was about winning. For pilots like John Smith, the Mustang represented more than just a machine. It was a companion in battle. As John flew in formation with other P-51s, he reflected on how the Mustang's design had made him feel like a different pilot altogether. "It was like we were untouchable," he recalled in an interview years later. "The Mustang made us feel like we could take on anything. It was the one plane that had our backs, no matter what came our way." As the war progressed, the P-51 Mustang's role grew even more critical. The aircraft was involved in numerous decisive battles, including the Allied invasion of Normandy and the subsequent drive into Germany. Its success was undeniable, and its reputation as the ultimate fighter plane of the war was cemented. But the Mustang's impact wasn't just on the battlefield. It symbolized the triumph of innovation and courage in the face of adversity. The stupid wing design, once ridiculed by skeptics, had proven to be the cornerstone of victory. It had shown the world that sometimes the most unconventional ideas can have the most profound impact. As the Allies moved closer to victory, the P-51 Mustang's legacy was becoming increasingly clear. It wasn't just a machine that helped win battles. It had become the heart of the Allied air effort. With each successful mission, it had brought the Allies one step closer to defeating the Nazi regime, and with each victory, the skies above Europe became a little less dangerous. By the time the war ended, the P-51 Mustang had flown thousands of missions, destroyed countless enemy aircraft, and protected bombers that played a crucial role in crippling the Nazi war machine. But its true significance went far beyond its kill count. It had transformed the nature of aerial warfare, proving that with the right innovation, even the most overwhelming odds could be overcome. As World War II drew to a close, the P-51 Mustang had become a symbol of victory, not just for the Allies, but for the spirit of innovation itself. What had started as a risky, seemingly stupid design, dismissed by many as unworkable, had ultimately transformed the entire air combat landscape. The aircraft had proven its worth beyond measure, both on the battlefield and in the hearts of the pilots who flew it. It had achieved a near mythical status, not only for its remarkable performance, but for the role it played in tipping the scales of war in favor of the Allies. The P-51 Mustang's success was a testament to the power of human ingenuity in the face of adversity. It showed that even in the darkest moments of war, innovation could provide the breakthrough needed to turn the tide. In the years following the war, the legacy of the Mustang continued to grow. The aircraft became a cornerstone in the study of military aviation, praised for its aerodynamic brilliance, its versatility, and its reliability. It went on to serve in conflicts well after the war, including the Korean War, where its speed and maneuverability proved just as valuable against new adversaries. The Mustang was no longer just a product of wartime necessity. It had become a beacon of what could be achieved when science, engineering, and sheer determination were put to the test. As the years passed, the P-51 Mustang remained etched in the minds of those who had experienced the war firsthand. For veterans, it was a reminder of their struggle, their sacrifices, and their ultimate triumph. The Mustang had been there when it mattered most, flying alongside them in the most perilous missions and emerging victorious. It became a symbol of hope for a generation who had faced the unimaginable, a tribute to the collective effort of countless engineers, pilots, and soldiers who had poured their hearts into the fight. Today, the P-51 Mustang stands as one of the most iconic fighter planes in history, celebrated in museums, documentaries, and aviation shows across the world. But its importance transcends its technical prowess. It's a symbol of what can be achieved when people dare to dream, to innovate, and to push beyond the boundaries of what seems possible. Kelly Johnson's stupid wing design, ridiculed and doubted by many, had reshaped the future of aerial combat. The aircraft's impact was immeasurable, not just because of its effectiveness in battle, but because it served as a powerful reminder that even the most unconventional ideas could change the world. It's easy to forget that the plane, which helped defeat one of the most formidable fighting forces the world had ever known, was the product of one man's belief in his vision. Kelly Johnson had a plan, and despite the skepticism and resistance, he followed through. The P-51 Mustang's success was proof that in the world of war, the untested and unconventional could often rise to greatness. And in doing so, it forever changed the course of history. The legacy of the Mustang, with its daring design and unrelenting performance, continues to inspire generations of engineers, pilots, and dreamers. It is a testament to the enduring power of innovation and the unbreakable will of those who refuse to accept the status quo. Through the skies of World War II, the P-51 Mustang became more than just a fighter plane. It became a symbol of the impossible made possible. As the war ended, the P-51 Mustang was not only celebrated by the pilots who flew it, but it also became a symbol of the broader victory that had been won. Its legacy stretched far beyond the final days of World War II. It stood as a beacon of triumph over tyranny and the ingenuity that made that victory possible. For those who witnessed its rise, the Mustang was a reminder that the course of history could be changed with determination, vision, and an unwillingness to accept mediocrity. The aircraft had not just outmaneuvered the German fighters, it had outlasted doubts, ridicule, and fears that its design would never be effective. Kelly Johnson, the man behind its creation, had proven the critics wrong, and in doing so, he had redefined the very nature of aerial combat. The Mustang's elliptical wing, once dismissed as a foolish innovation, had delivered exactly what the Allies needed: an edge in the skies. The plane's success had a lasting effect on military aviation. Its combination of speed, maneuverability, and long-range capabilities made it the prototype for future aircraft designs. Engineers and aviation experts began to study the Mustang's structure, eager to understand how its unique design could be replicated or improved upon. Its success set a new standard for what fighter planes should be capable of, influencing the design of aircraft for decades to come. The P-51 Mustang also had a profound impact on the pilots who flew it. Many veterans, like Captain Robert "Bob" Johnson, remembered the Mustang as the plane that had given them a fighting chance in the deadliest of wars. "We trusted our Mustang," Johnson said in an interview. "It was our lifeline, and it never let us down." The relationship between the pilots and the Mustang was not just professional, it was personal. The plane became a part of their identity, a symbol of their resilience and bravery. Flying the P-51 Mustang was a responsibility, but it was also a privilege. It was the weapon that allowed them to protect their comrades, to strike fear into the enemy, and to play a pivotal role in the final push towards victory. The Mustang had become synonymous with Allied success in the war, and its influence reached far beyond the confines of the battlefield. As the world moved into a post-war era, the P-51 Mustang's legacy was cemented in the hearts and minds of a generation. It was not just a tool of war, it was a symbol of what could be achieved when the impossible was dared to be attempted. The Mustang had proven that with the right combination of vision, skill, and courage, anything could be overcome. In a world where every corner seemed filled with uncertainty, the P-51 Mustang stood as a beacon of hope, a reminder that, no matter how dire the situation, innovation could provide the answer. The design that had been mocked for its stupidity had ultimately become the key to victory, and the Mustang's power had proven that unconventional thinking often leads to greatness. The P-51 Mustang's story is not just one of military triumph. It is the story of the people who dared to challenge the status quo. It is a story of transformation, from a time of fear and uncertainty to one of hope, inspiration, and lasting change. Today, the P-51 Mustang is a reminder that the greatest victories often come from the most unexpected places. Its wings, once thought to be a design flaw, had carried the Allies to victory, and its legacy continues to soar, reminding us that even the most stupid ideas can change the world. As the world moved into the post-war era, the P-51 Mustang's influence on aviation remained profound. The war might have ended, but its legacy lived on in the skies above. The aircraft had proven itself to be a masterpiece of design, far surpassing anything anyone had expected from a wartime fighter. The Mustang was not just another success story in the long history of military aviation. It was a testament to what could be accomplished when innovation was given a chance to thrive. For the engineers and pilots who had been a part of its story, the Mustang had become more than just a weapon of war. It represented a new era in air combat, where conventional thinking was no longer the only path to success. The P-51 Mustang was more than just a product of necessity. It was a beacon of possibility. In the years following the war, the Mustang's design principles influenced the development of new aircraft. The innovative wing shape, the powerful engine, and the streamlined body became key features in the design of future fighter planes. It was no surprise that military aviation would look to the Mustang for inspiration. It had set a new standard that could not be ignored. But perhaps the greatest legacy of the Mustang wasn't its technical specifications or its role in securing victory in Europe. It was the story of its creation, the story of Kelly Johnson and his team at Lockheed. Their decision to take a risk on a seemingly stupid wing design was not just a stroke of engineering brilliance. It was a courageous defiance of conventional wisdom. Johnson and his team had shown the world that it was possible to think differently, to break free from the limitations that held others back. They had proven that sometimes the most unconventional ideas lead to the greatest breakthroughs. This lesson was not lost on the engineers who followed in their footsteps. As the aviation industry evolved in the years after the war, the principles of innovation and risk-taking that defined the P-51 Mustang became the foundation for new developments. The Mustang had set the bar, and everyone who worked on future aircraft had to measure up to its performance, its engineering, and its legacy. On a more personal level, the Mustang had changed the lives of countless pilots. Men who had once feared the skies now saw them as a place of triumph, not just for themselves, but for their comrades. The P-51 Mustang had given them the power to fight back, to protect the bombers, and to challenge the might of the Luftwaffe. And in doing so, it had forged a bond between pilot and machine that transcended the battlefield. For the veterans who had flown the Mustang, it became a symbol of brotherhood, courage, and sacrifice. It was a reminder that despite the odds, they had succeeded. They had fought the good fight and emerged victorious. As the years passed, the P-51 Mustang's influence only grew. Museums, books, documentaries, and air shows all contributed to its immortalization. The Mustang had become an icon, not just of the war, but of the enduring power of human ingenuity. Its story, once whispered in the quiet corners of military history, had become one of the most enduring tales of the 20th century. The Mustang's wings, once thought flawed, had carried the hopes of the Allies through the darkest days of war and into the light of victory. And in the end, it was the P-51 Mustang's legacy that truly soared. The years following World War II saw the P-51 Mustang transform from a revolutionary fighter aircraft into an enduring symbol of military aviation excellence. As the dust settled after the war, the Mustang's contributions continued to reverberate across the skies. Its design became a benchmark, an embodiment of everything that could be achieved when engineering met necessity with innovation. For decades, the Mustang remained one of the most admired fighter planes ever built, not just for its performance during the war, but for the lessons it imparted to the future of aviation. Engineers and aviation designers in the post-war era knew that the P-51 Mustang's capabilities were the pinnacle of fighter aircraft development at the time. The aircraft's extraordinary blend of speed, agility, and range had redefined what was possible in the sky. Its elliptical wing design, which had once been ridiculed, became the subject of study and admiration. The Mustang had proven that taking risks in design could lead to unimaginable success. However, its impact was not confined to the battlefield or engineering textbooks alone. For those who had flown the Mustang, it had become much more than just an aircraft. It was a partner in the fight for freedom. Veterans of the war who had piloted the P-51 Mustang continued to speak of it with reverence and nostalgia. The Mustang had saved lives, secured victories, and carried Allied hopes through the darkest moments of the conflict. For these pilots, the Mustang was not just a machine, but a lifeline. It had given them the edge they desperately needed to survive in the sky and return home to their families. The Mustang's influence stretched beyond the confines of military aviation into popular culture as well. The aircraft's sleek design, distinct profile, and storied history made it an enduring symbol of victory, patriotism, and technological advancement. In the years following the war, the Mustang became a staple at air shows and aviation museums, where its history was preserved and celebrated. People would flock from all corners of the globe to witness the majesty of the P-51 Mustang in flight, marveling at its elegance, power, and the sheer brilliance of its design. The Mustang had become more than just an artifact of war, it had become an icon. It was in these later years that the true measure of the P-51 Mustang's legacy became clear. It had not only helped to win a global war, but had also laid the foundation for future advancements in military aviation. Its design principles were carried forward into the development of jet fighters in the 1950s and beyond. The Mustang's ability to balance speed, agility, and endurance became a standard for the next generation of aircraft. But beyond its technical legacy, the Mustang had instilled in the world a profound lesson. Sometimes, the most unlikely ideas can lead to the greatest victories. Kelly Johnson's willingness to take a chance on a radical wing design had paid off in ways no one could have predicted. The P-51 Mustang's rise from a stupid idea to one of the most effective weapons of war demonstrated the power of innovation and the refusal to accept limitations. In many ways, the Mustang's story mirrored the very essence of the war itself, an unlikely victory against overwhelming odds, driven by an unyielding determination to succeed. As the decades passed, the Mustang continued to soar in the hearts of those who had lived through the war. For them, it wasn't just a fighter plane. It was a reminder of the sacrifices made, the victories achieved, and the innovative spirit that had made those victories possible. And so, the Mustang's legacy endured, as timeless as the skies it once ruled. The fighter plane that had been ridiculed for its design was now forever etched into history as one of the most important machines ever to take flight. Its wings had carried not only pilots, but the very essence of hope, courage, and innovation. As the years passed and the world transitioned into the Cold War, the P-51 Mustang's legacy only grew stronger. While it had been retired from active military service by the early 1950s, its influence remained a cornerstone in the history of aviation. It was no longer a tool of warfare. It had become a symbol, one that captured the essence of innovation, resilience, and victory. The Mustang was a reminder that ingenuity could overcome even the greatest challenges. Its performance in the skies during World War II was unmatched, and its role in helping the Allies secure victory could never be understated. But as the years went on, the P-51 Mustang took on a different kind of significance. It became a revered artifact of history, representing not just a military triumph, but the spirit of the people who had fought for freedom. Museums and aviation enthusiasts began to preserve these iconic aircraft, and soon the P-51 Mustang became a cherished artifact in the world of aviation. Airshows became an opportunity for veterans and aviation fans alike to witness the P-51 Mustang take to the skies once again. There was something profoundly emotional about seeing the Mustang soar, its distinctive wings cutting through the air with the same grace and power that had won so many battles in Europe. For many, it was like stepping back in time, a fleeting moment to relive the triumphs and sacrifices of a generation that had fought for a better world. The Mustang's enduring presence in airshows and museums also inspired future generations of aviation engineers and pilots. Young dreamers looking to the skies would often hear the stories of the Mustang, and its legacy would fuel their own ambitions. The principles behind the Mustang's success, innovation, risk-taking, and an unwavering commitment to excellence became guiding lights for those who followed in its wake. But the Mustang story didn't end with the war, the air shows, or the history books. Over the years, a handful of lucky individuals managed to acquire and restore original P-51s, keeping the aircraft alive in the hearts of those who believed in its magic. These restored planes, often flown by veterans and enthusiasts, became living symbols of what could be achieved through hard work and dedication. It wasn't just a static exhibit. It was a living, breathing piece of history, continuing to fly through the skies long after its military service had ended. The restoration of these Mustangs was a tribute to the engineers and pilots who had contributed to its success. It was also a tribute to the aircraft's ability to adapt and survive long after the end of the war. Even after decades of service, the P-51 Mustang remained an incredibly capable machine, and its continued use in civilian hands demonstrated the timeless nature of its design. The Mustang had defied the odds during the war, and now, decades later, it was still defying expectations by continuing to fly in the hands of passionate restorers and aviation enthusiasts. For those who had fought in World War II, the Mustang was a piece of their own legacy. It was a connection to the past, a reminder of the battles they had fought and the victories they had achieved. And for those who came after, the P-51 Mustang represented the best of what human ingenuity could accomplish. The spirit of the Mustang lived on, not just as a machine, but as a symbol of what was possible when innovation and perseverance were combined with a relentless desire for victory. As long as the Mustang flew, its story would never be forgotten. It would continue to inspire, educate, and remind the world of the power of human determination in the face of overwhelming odds. The P-51 Mustang had become more than just a plane. It had become a legend. As the years stretched on, the P-51 Mustang's story transcended its role as a mere war machine. The legacy of this iconic aircraft, with its unmatched maneuverability and innovative design, had grown to symbolize more than just military prowess. It had become a timeless example of how one bold idea could change the course of history. For those who lived through World War II, the Mustang was forever etched in their memories, not just as a tool of war, but as a lifeline that carried them through the skies, offering hope when it was most needed. It was more than just a plane. It was a testament to their sacrifices and the ingenuity that had helped them win the war. Veterans, many of whom had flown the Mustang, looked back on their service with a deep sense of pride. For them, the P-51 Mustang was an inseparable part of their identity. It was the aircraft that had allowed them to protect their comrades, to outfight the enemy, and to fulfill their mission in the skies. The Mustang had become synonymous with bravery, skill, and triumph. Yet even in the years after the war, the Mustang's significance continued to grow. As the world moved into a new era, the Mustang found a place not just in the hearts of veterans, but in the collective memory of the world. It became a symbol of what could be achieved in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, a symbol of the courage to defy expectations and overcome adversity. The story of the Mustang resonated with people beyond the military. It became a touchstone for anyone who believed in the power of innovation, in the belief that with enough vision and determination, even the most unconventional ideas could lead to extraordinary outcomes. It wasn't just the engineers who had designed the Mustang or the pilots who had flown it who saw the impact of its legacy. It was the engineers, inventors, and thinkers who followed in their footsteps. The P-51 Mustang had redefined what was possible in aviation, and it set the bar for every fighter plane that followed. It proved that, with the right combination of engineering, performance, and bravery, it was possible to achieve what others thought was impossible. The Mustang was, in every sense, a harbinger of what could be done when innovative thinking was paired with the drive to achieve greatness. Beyond the fighter jets of the 1950s and 1960s, the P-51 Mustang's influence could be seen in civilian aviation as well. Its design principles had inspired a generation of aircraft engineers who carried forward the lessons learned from the Mustang's construction. Its legacy lived on in countless aircraft that would follow, from military jets to civilian planes. But more importantly, the Mustang became a part of the national psyche. The aircraft's performance and its role in securing victory in the skies were celebrated in documentaries, films, and books, cementing its place in popular culture. Its sleek design and the myth of its untouchable power continued to captivate audiences, as its legend only grew with each retelling of its story. The Mustang was no longer just an aircraft. It was a part of the fabric of the Second World War, a symbol of the determination, innovation, and bravery that defined an entire generation. And for those who still remembered the sound of its engines roaring through the sky, the P-51 Mustang would always be a reminder of how one bold, unconventional design could forever change the course of history. It was a plane that had proven that greatness comes not just from strength, but from the courage to break the mold and defy the odds. Even in the years that followed, the Mustang's wings, once ridiculed as stupid, continued to soar, forever reminding us that the most remarkable stories often begin with the most unlikely ideas. The P-51 Mustang's journey is not just one of engineering brilliance. It is a story of overcoming doubts, defying conventions, and achieving greatness against all odds. From the moment Kelly Johnson's stupid wing design was deemed unworthy by skeptics, to its rise as the most feared and revered fighter aircraft in the skies, the Mustang embodied the spirit of innovation and resilience. It didn't just change the course of the war, it changed the very way we think about design, persistence, and the power of human ingenuity. The Mustang, once dismissed, became the aircraft that won the skies, the aircraft that carried the hopes of the Allied forces to victory, and a symbol of what is possible when bold ideas are given the chance to thrive. Today, as we look back at the P-51 Mustang's legacy, we are reminded that in every great success, there is a story of struggle, innovation, and perseverance. It is a legacy that continues to inspire future generations of engineers, pilots, and dreamers. The Mustang teaches us that the greatest victories are often won by those who dare to break the mold, to take risks, and to believe in the impossible. So, as you stand in awe of the P-51 Mustang's legacy, ask yourself, what bold idea can you bring to life? What risks are you willing to take? In the world that often plays it safe, let the story of the P-51 Mustang remind you that innovation is the true key to success. Don't be afraid to dream big, challenge the status quo, and push the boundaries of what's possible. Just like the Mustang, your most daring ideas could change the world. Join the legacy. Keep pushing the limits of what's possible.